Hi everyone, my name is Sunny Yu. Today I'm going to present our paper, Generics Revisited, Analyzing Generalizations in Children's Books and Caregivers Speech. This is joint work with Alvin Tan, Seeing John, Philip Miao, Riley Carlson, Toby Gerstenberg, and David Rose from Stanford University. First, to motivate the project, there are different statements that children hear that teach them about generalization. One example is universally quantified statements like all coal is black, which is about all individuals in a given category. Then there are habitual statements that make generalizations about individuals. And one example is John is a runner. But of special interest is generic statements, which are non-quantified statements that make category-wide generalizations. And one example is all cats have tails. So this makes a generalization about cats, namely that they have tails. There are many reasons why generics are of special interest, but one central reason is that they are supposed to transmit essentialist beliefs, the idea that things have a hidden true nature. So um, it is believed that biological kinds are supposed to be essentialized while artifacts are not. So in a 2008 corpus study, Gellman analyzed two children's books and found that indeed, generics are more likely to be about biological kinds than artifacts. However, a follow-up study in 2019 by Malhotra et al. Found that there's actually no significant difference between generic use about biological kinds and artifacts, and they analyzed 16 conversations from parents in the childish corpus. The difference is that they included pronouns in their analysis, while the Gellman study excluded pronouns. So we're interested in revisiting this question by also adding non-living kinds and social kinds. Two kinds are also supposed to be essentialized to see whether they're more likely to be talked about in the form of generic statements. And besides generics, we also add two additional categories, namely habituals and universal quantifiers. So to do this, we web scraped 694 children's books from public websites, predominantly Epic, and we also took the entire childish conversation from caregivers and built the following NLP pipeline. So first, we fine-tuned a BERT model using existing annotation data for generics and habituals to perform situation entity type classification. Then we used a GPT binary classifier to filter out the false positives. And we fine-tuned another BERT model to perform token-level named entity recognition to categorize biological kinds, artifacts, non-living kinds, and social kinds. And we used a universal dependency parser to identify the subjects. So a sentence is considered to be about a biological kind if the subject is tagged as a biological kind. And finally, we use regular expression to extract universal quantifiers. Even though we analyze three types of statements, for the results here, we're going to focus on generics because they are the most relevant to psychological essentialism. So we found that indeed, generics are more likely used for biological kinds than artifacts, but this is only true if we exclude pronouns. If we include pronouns, there's actually no significant difference, which confirms both Gellman's finding and Malhotra et al.'s findings. So this shows that the choice to include or exclude pronouns actually has a huge effect on the actual findings. Secondly, we found that generics increase with age in parent speech and decrease over age in children's books. What's surprising is that generics weren't more likely used for non-living kinds or social kinds and artifacts. This is surprising because we know that non-living natural kinds and social kinds are supposed to be essentialized, so we would expect them, like biological kinds, to also appear more in the form of generic statements in these early language input to children, but this is actually not the case. So this raises the question of why only biological kinds are more frequent than artifacts in the form of generic statements. So it complicates the connection between generics and essentialism, and perhaps instead of biological kind being essentialized, it could simply be that they're just more frequent or are more interesting to children so that they appear more in the corpus than artifacts. And this doesn't really tell us anything about whether they're more likely to be essentialized or not. Thank you.